fire characters in Diablo 2 are without a doubt some of my most favorite builds to play. So today I'm going to be going over the Fire Druid in Project Diablo 2. I've been having a lot of fun with this character. There's a lot of quality of life changes that were made to the build to make it more viable because, let's be honest, it's not a very often play build in original LOD. So they did reduce some cooldown time, did increase some of the physical portion of some of the spells, so it is a little bit more viable for dealing with fire immunes, as well as some new introduced areas makes this a little bit more viable of a character to play. Although I do think it has been handicapped in a couple other ways as well, so is it better than LOD? Well, we're going to talk about that in today's video, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Quick reminder for those that don't know, I have been streaming the progression of this character live on Twitch, so if you want to catch the action live in real time, you know what to do. Hit me up with a follow. Link is of course in the description below. Any follows would be very much appreciated. But guys, hope you enjoy this video. Let's jump in.
Looking for bail.
So what makes the Fire Druid better in PD2 compared to LOD? Well, really there's a couple kind of key points. The first is that there's no cooldown on the fire tree now, so you can spam Volcano, Molten Boulder, Fissure, etc. It's not annoying build to play anymore. You can just spam spells for doing more damage. Now, there is one exception. If you use the Druid's new introduced skill called Gust, it's a teleport skill that as you invest more points into it, the cooldown duration diminishes. So I think it starts at 6, and then every single consecutive hard or soft point that you put into Gust, it lowers that cooldown time by 0.2 seconds. So say you have a 4-second duration on the teleport. If you teleport, you cannot use Volcano until you can teleport again. So Volcano is linked to Gust, but as you continue to put more points into it, you can bring that duration all the way down to 0.5 seconds. So it's not really that big a deal, but it makes the build more effective as well as more powerful and less of a pain in the ass to play. The second big change is adding a lot of additional physical damage to the fire trees. So in LOD, you'd only get physical damage from Volcano, but Volcano has a horrible cooldown duration on it, so nobody would ever use it. You would just go Fissure, which leads you to the problem of dealing with fire immunes. You have to have Infinity Mercenary, stack lots of fire damage, farm specific areas that don't have fire immunes, making the Fire Druid a very niche character. But with the heavily buffed added physical damage to Armageddon and Molten Boulder, you can actually do a really good job of taking out fire immunes in PD2 with the Fire Druid, so it just makes the character a lot more effective. And finally, there's a lot of new additional added level 85 areas in the game that have no fire immunes or almost zero fire immunes, so you don't have to have Infinity for this character to be effective. The combination of added physical damage and then target farming and a lot of new specific level 85 area locations makes it a viable character to play. You don't have to be stuck with like your standard Blizzard sorcerers. You can go Fire Druid and make this character work. So for a breakdown of the attribute distribution, you guys can just pause the video and look at the picture above me. Max Vita, enough strength to equip my gear. I have less than 1,000 life at level 84 and then 338 mana with a decent res pool. I think that's the biggest thing this character struggles with, is trying to build a decent life pool. Again, I am only level 81 and I don't have like amazing gear, but I do have pretty good gear. And to have less than 1,000 life at level 81, it's pretty rough. We're kind of a little bit of a glass cannon. We'll demonstrate that more in the example gameplay. But jumping into the skill tree here, summoning, I don't have a single point invested. Currently, being level 1 in my plus skill gear, I think it makes more sense to max the fire damage portion of the tree. In elemental points, I didn't put anything into any of these. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points to get Summon Grizzly for Meat Shield. Heart of the Wolverine is okay, I've used this in shapeshifting. I only think it's worth using if you can pump a lot of points into it. And then, unfortunately, Oak Sage is, to put it kindly, dog shit. So 1 skill point for 65 life, it's just not even worth using at all. So I don't have anything for summoning. Shapeshifting, obviously nothing. If you are a Fire Druid, why would you have anything put into shapeshifting? And then for Elemental, I have 1 hard point into Arctic Blast, 1 into Cyclone Armor, and then I have, well, I did originally put 1 point into Gust. Then I put 1 into Firestorm, maxed Molten Boulder, Fissure, Volcano, and Armageddon. So you guys can pause the video here on the tooltips to see how much damage, but you can see that Molten Boulder is a lot of physical and fire. Fissure's okay damage. Volcano is, 1148 to 1160, and kind of the same fire damage. And then Armageddon does have a lot of damage, although the problem with Armageddon is it kind of struggles like LOD. It's not a super effective spell to use. When it does hit, it does a lot of damage. That's if it does hit. So it's just kind of like your spell that you cast and run around with. But most of the damage comes from Volcano and Molten Boulder with this character build spec. Then once I had all of these fire trees completely maxed, I dumped the rest of my points into Gust. So it's currently level 20. Has a 2.5 second cooldown duration. Eventually it can get to 0.5 seconds, so that's kind of like my end game goal with this build, to be constantly teleporting around and not have that cooldown affect my Volcano too much. But as it currently stands, it's 2.5 seconds. So if you wanted to, you could put 100 points into Gust, and you could maybe put other points into shapeshifting, or excuse me, you could put other points into summoning, like a Summon Grizzly or Oak Sage if you want. But I just think with how horrible Oak Sage is, and then the meat shield's okay, I just personally would rather have a lower cooldown duration for my teleport, but again, that's just me. And then as far as my gear goes, we'll start off with the weapon. I'm using Earthshaker. This is a really interesting weapon. It's kind of like a poor man's Hodo, 3 elemental skills and 20 FCR. Then I have a plain Ravenlore, 20 all res Viper Magi, 2 to fire skills, minus 10 fire res Rising Sun Amulet, a maximum lightning res corrupted, or maximum lightning res plus lightning res corrupted Garrick Sanctuary. Then I have Arachnid's Mesh, 2 SOJs, and Mage Fist. So this is all plain gear, so there's the room to improve it all with corruption, so adding plus skills, sockets, or fire facets to try and boost your damage. And then the boots, I'm using a perfect 20 to strength Marowak boots. So these have Cannot Be Frozen, so it's my only source of Cannot Be Frozen for this druid. I could alternatively equip a Ravenfrost, but this way I can get additional plus skills, just 2 SOJs, and then use Marowaks. On the offhand, I currently have Spirit and Lidless. I mean, I could have, I think I have it in my cube, I don't. I do have a lower res one somewhere, so I can use that for boss farming. Eventually, I'd like to replace this with CTA, but again, I don't really have anything. There's just not really doing much on the offhand. And I do think that Gurks is a better shield to use than Lidless. Lidless is an extra skill with a bit of mana after kill. Put a perfect diamond in it for some extra all res, but Gurks does have some nice benefits as well. So I'm losing 1 skill, but I gain physical DR, better spread of res, so that's why I'm currently using Garrick Sanctuary. And then my entire inventory is just different assorted resistance small charms and a Geese Grand Charm. So 40 MF Geese Grand Charm, different res and life small charms, and then I do have this 38 to life 15 all res GC, just to make sure I have that decent res pool and then have like a little bit of a decent life. Like I don't have tons of plus life small charms, but just trying to get the health a little bit higher than 978. It's pretty rough right now. So I wanted to do something different with the Mercenary. Instead of going the standard Act 2 Insight Mercenary for Meditation Aura, I wanted to just go with an Act 1 Merc because they have improved vastly in PD2. So I went with an Act 1 Cold Arrow Mercenary that naturally has a Meditation Aura, so that covers my mana issues that I have on my character. And then I gave her the Rumored Harmony and a bow, so that gives me a Vigor Aura. So I get Vigor and Meditation off the same Mercenary. And the helmet is just a plain Taurash's Mask, Treachery, an Ethereal Blade Buckle Belt. This is kind of cool. It has physical damage reduction, so it's interesting. Venom Grips for a source of Life Leech, combined with Tal's Mask. And then I also have Terrahunch Geese for res, strength, and dexterity. She doesn't quite have capped res yet, but she does often proc Fade from Treachery, so that usually does the trick for capping out all of her res. But yeah, just something different. But you can kind of see here, my Mercenary has 1,249 life, so my Act 1 Mercenary has more life than my Fire Druid does. What the heck is going on with that? But that is the Mercenary, the skill tree, and the gear. So now I'll show you guys some example gameplay of some of the areas that I typically farm with this Fire Druid. So let's show you guys where I farm with the Fire Druid. So we'll start off with doing a Eldritch run here. I just want to demonstrate the cooldown duration of Gust. So this is my teleport skill Gust. As I teleport, Volcano is on cooldown, so you have to kind of watch that, and that's why I use Molten Boulder as my other click. So if I teleport, I can spam Molten Boulder. Now this is probably going to look super foreign to you, but the more points you invest into Molten Boulder, the faster the boulders scale for speed. So it's a very, very interesting spell to use. So remember, I'm only level 82. I don't have a torch. No torch or Annie yet. I can take out Eldritch pretty quickly. I'll do a little Pindle run here. Kind of show you guys as I teleport, there's that duration where I can't use Volcano. Just alternatively spam the crap out of Molten Boulder, which does work really well for kind of single targeting farming monsters. Now on to some of the level 85 areas I'd like to farm. This is a pretty cool map in my opinion, so I just hit the Frozen Tundra waypoint, and I just raided the Glacial Trail. And I can run just over there to the Drifter Cavern, which is a new level 85 area. So I can kill some of these guys along the way if I want to as well. But I think that having Harmony on the Mercenary complements this build really well because I can move around pretty quickly. And as I do a little teleport reposition, I have to use Molten Boulder for a little bit. So you always want to make sure you kind of recast your Armageddon and your Cyclone armor. Now the only bad thing about farming this area is it happens occasionally that you'll get these Moon Lords that are immune to fire, and if that's the case, I typically just reset the map because they're just painfully slow to take out even with Molten Boulder. But everything else isn't too bad. I just kind of plot volcanoes everywhere and then constantly make sure I'm moving to avoid damage, which is, it's pretty easy to avoid damage when I'm running around really quickly from the Harmony or my Mercenary. But I mean, I don't really have any issues killing anything here. No mana problems for my Merc. Can run around pretty quickly. Kind of like, you know, almost sub 3 minute level 85 area farming. And this is in Act 5. I'll show you a couple other areas that you can farm. You just have to watch every time that you use Gust. Oh, didn't mean to hit that. Every time you use Gust, you have to use Molten Boulder for a little bit. Or you can use a combination of both. Let me just heal my Mercenary. So yeah, obviously we're not like Sorceress clear speed. Again, I am only level 81. There's some room for improvement with the gear. Like I was debating possibly using the Runeward Stone to try and get a source of faster hit recovery. I don't really have any FHR with this setup right now. But I do have a Stony Tomb map here, which is another level 85 area. And I could do pretty decent clear speed. Again, not quite Combustion Sorceress, but pretty much just run around here, just dropping volcanoes everywhere. If I want to, I could use Molten Boulder. They're both really good. I think when I get a high enough level and a little bit more plus skill gear, the idea might be to constantly be teleporting around. I just don't quite have that duration down yet. 2.5 seconds versus 0.5 seconds. So I do a lot of running, but I think maybe kind of the end game build, I would try and be teleporting around with 0.5 second duration, and then have an Infinity Mercenary try and boost my fire damage as much as I possibly can. Or you could always go the route of a Tool Mercenary, try and boost the physical aspect of these spells. That's always an option as well. Although I think you're probably better off boosting the fire portion. In the end, I think it'll be more damage, but GC. Remember, there's a lot of room for improvement here with putting like fire facets into stuff. Like if I had, you know, Shield Up Socket or whatever, Ravenlore with +1 all skills, put 2 fire facets in it, that's going to be a significant boost to my fire damage. Like I currently only have like 1200 volcano damage. And I really only benefit from the fact that you can just repetitively spam the spell. We're definitely not quite at the area where we can consistently run tier maps yet, but I will get there with my Druid. Well guys, there you have it. That wraps up today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and it gives you a little bit more insight into the Fire Druid in Project Diablo 2. I do think it was largely improved in a lot of ways, like eliminating the cooldown on a lot of the fire trees, giving the Druid a teleport skill, as well as adding a lot of physical damage to the fire tree to help deal with fire immunities. So it is largely improved, although I just don't get the life pool. How do I have less life than an Aqua Mercenary? I don't know. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys would tweak the gear at all. Again, I am only level 81 Druid. There's definitely room for improvement, like corruptions and fire facets. But yeah, I just like reading your feedback. And as always, if you guys could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content on YouTube and I stream twice a week on Twitch. So a follow on Twitch and a sub on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.